What are photos without hotness? Stars have shown a lot of skin throughout the years, many years in fact. What's the best part? No matter whether they're on the red carpet, in a movie, or just going about their daily lives, here we are with the 40 vintage photos that show way too much, so don't miss to take a look. Here on the screen you see 19-year-old Kate Moss wearing a silver slip dress by Lisa Bruce to an elite models party in London in 1993. It remains one of Kate's most famous looks because it was, as the BBC called it, startlingly sheer. When Elizabeth Hurley wore a Versace safety pin dress to accompany then-boyfriend Hugh Grant to the London premiere of Four Weddings and a Funeral, no one recognized who she was. Rose McGowan stunned everyone when she came to the MTV Video Music Awards in 1998 wearing a see-through beaded gown that revealed almost everything. Rose informed Roseanne Barr at the time that she intended her outfit to make a scene, thus the dress was a triumph in that regard. Jennifer Lopez chose a Versace sheer green silk chiffon gown formerly worn by the model Amber Valletta and Spice Girl Gary Halliwell, yet no one wore it as well as Jennifer. Look at this snapshot of a very young Florence Henderson in the 1950s, when she was just starting as an actress-singer. Despite her long and successful career, Carol Brady will always be remembered as the charming lady she is. While filming the western, Nevada Smith Suzanne Pleshette uses her foot to pass a cigarette to Steve McQueen on location in the Louisiana Bayou, 1966. The actress launched her career in the theater and then began appearing in films in the late 1950s. Nicole Kidman has a lot of 80s hair. In December 1983, the actress posed beside Sydney Harbour for a picture shoot to help promote the film BMX Bandits in Sydney, Australia. Nicole Kidman's acting career began earlier this year in Australia. Let's Get Physical with Olivia Newton-John is as deliciously 80s as it gets. It's one of the decade's most memorable songs and an iconic video. Olivia Newton-John, America's sweetheart, pop culture icon, and four-time Grammy Award winner, is one of the world's best-selling musicians of all time. It wasn't until the 1950s that all the casinos in Las Vegas began to compete in terms of performance. Showgirls were collectively in their heyday during the 1950s, and the showgirl became the unofficial Las Vegas icon. Here you see Little Langtry wasn't just a socialite but an actress and a producer in the 1800s. It was her looks that attracted many to her and allowed her to perform in many West End stage productions. Ingrid Bergman was a Swedish actress who appeared in several well-known American and European films. She was named the fourth greatest movie legend of all time in 1999. In her prime, she was a serious contender for the top slot. Lauren Bacall is widely regarded as one of the best American actresses ever. She simply has this frigid stare that makes her fascinating. She didn't, however, only play colder roles. The woman was versatile. Ursula Andress was a sex icon and a Swiss actress and model. She is most known as one of the first Bond girls in the 007 franchise, as well as her role in the parody film Casino Royale. Michelle Pfeiffer isn't as young as she once was, but she's still a complete knockout, and it's simple to see why she had become a Hollywood it girl by looking at older photographs of herself from her early years in Hollywood. It's difficult to imagine a more glam country music performer than Dolly Parton. She was once glamorous enough to get a deal with Playboy and appear on the cover. Of course, modeling wasn't her main focus, even if she'd be amazing at it. Being a love interest on Star Trek takes work. You must first suit the uniform, and then you must be comfortable roaming around a planet set for hours on end. It's as if stewardesses didn't say what they wore until the 90s. Throughout the 1960s, airline clothes had a seductive aspect to them, but this Scandinavian Airlines costume is absurd. The women's liberation movement hit its stride in the 1960s. Women were entering the workforce and demonstrating to men that they didn't need anyone to assist them to get by. If you grew up watching television in the 1960s, you probably remember Senta Berger from somewhere. She was a regular on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. She also appears on It Takes a Thief and The Name of the Game. The 1960s wouldn't be the same without Raquel Welch. Throughout the grooviest decade, she made the screen pop with sultry performances in everything from 1 Million Years BC to Bedazzled and even the Kansas City Bomber. The next photo depicts an American evacuee who punches a South Vietnamese man for a seat on the final chopper out of the US Embassy during the 1975 evacuation of Saigon. It is a rude act for sure. What do you think? There's no doubt that you are familiar with Hitler, the Man of Fear. Do you know from where he came? That's a separate story. Yet here we see the young Hitler cheers in 1914 as it marks the start of World War I. It depicts way too much. A crew member of the Japanese carrier Zuikaku gives one last banzai cheer before the ship sank in 1944. The next one is the US Coast Guard cutter Spencer, which destroyed the Nazi submarine U-175 on April 17, 1943. The day was legendary. The individuals were legendary, and the photo is without a doubt the most famous. This groovy image shows Bob Dylan with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards at Jagger's 29th birthday party in July 1972. These appear more relaxed than what we see in clubs, as I know. So, would you like to join them? This beautiful vintage photo show is a timeless representation of the war within us and the wars we fight against each other. Facing bayonets just inches from the face, a brave woman holds a single flower against the war. It may be difficult to see the positives in this lovely antique photograph because of advertising. It was believed in the 1950s that smoking cigarettes was virtually safe, and people smoked them and gave them to children, as shown in this photograph. This lovely vintage photograph illustrates a worldwide favorite. For years, ice cream trucks have delighted children in neighborhoods. A Mr. Wimpy vehicle is shown here in England, where it began. Louise Dahl-Wolf took this lovely antique photograph. She is a well-known photographer who has collaborated with Harper's Bazaar and done a lot of cover photographs and black and white settings for actresses. Nothing compares to ancient Rome's hedonism, although New York City in the 1970s comes close. From 1977 to 1980, as the Vietnam War raged on the other side of the world, stars, partygoers, and hangers-on went to Studio 54 to shake their groove and get into trouble. Jane Mansfield was a blonde for the ages who moved from Pennsylvania to Hollywood and became an instant success. She appeared in the film The Girl Can't Help It in February 1956, among rock and roll legends such as Little Richard, Eddie Cochran, and Fats Domino. What are your eyes doing right now? Are you stoned? Have you been smoking marijuana? Pot? Wacky? You know, like grass? Like marijuana was popular among jazz musicians from the 1930s to the 1950s, its use skyrocketed in the 1960s. Bascom, Florida native Faye Dunaway's film career began in earnest in 1967 when she starred alongside Warren Beatty in Bonnie and Clyde. By 1972, Dick Cavett was exhausted from his show. After all, he'd been interviewing stars and star wannabes 5 nights a week for years. One of his final interviews before taking a break and waiting for ABC to come up with a better contract was with Raquel Welch, a regular on the show. With its sleek contours and a hood that makes the driver feel like they're behind the wheel of a retro-futuristic spaceship, the 1972 Dodge Challenger is one of the area's most iconic muscle cars. Anne Margaret was a certified star by 1965. She had not only appeared in Viva Las Vegas alongside Elvis, but she had also been nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress and had won the Golden Globe for Best Newcomer. Barbara Bach, a New York native, began her career as a model for magazines such as Seventeen and Vogue in the 1960s, but she rapidly transitioned to acting in 1968 when she played Nausicaa in an Italian production of The Odyssey. Jane Mansfield had just entered the public eye with the release of Will's success Spoil Rock Hunter in 1955, and the producers were all in on the actress at the moment. Sharon Stone moved to New York in the late 1970s to become a model, then to Europe where her career peaked. In 1980, she returned to New York City and began her career as an actress. Nothing beats hearing the click and hum of a school projector, the appearance of dust in the light, and the manner the projector indicated at least 30 minutes without studying, books, or a teacher running their lips. And with this, we've come to the end of the video. Subscribe to us for more such content, and we'll see you in the next one.